What's up everybody, welcome to Money Management channel. My name is Andrei and today I'm gonna be doing an update on MMTLP and FINRA saga.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed, born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up.
And for today's video guys, I have several huge news that will definitely change a lot in our case. And I have to say that potentially this is the biggest update ever for MMTLP community with this type of news. And unfortunately, I will not cover all of them for today's video, at least for today's video, because these news are really huge and I don't have enough time in order to show you all of them. But let me show you them one by one. First of all, Scott has quite interesting calculation of the share imbalance, total share imbalance of next bridge hydrocarbon shares. On top of that, he wrote a set of questions to Greg McCabe, and he just published it, and I have to say that these questions are really impressive. Unfortunately, I think Greg will not answer to these questions. Then I will continue with an update of Mark Basile, and he literally dropped a bombshell, and potentially he has an evidence that one of MMTLP community members was guilty in the U3 HALT implementation. On top of that, guys, we have a strike back from RareDD. In response to this information that was dropped by Mark Basile, and I have to say that this information is really quite interesting and frustrating. And at the end of this video, I will show you that potentially we are about to see a new lawsuit, a class action lawsuit or set of class action lawsuits. And I have to say that it is not the best news. So, before we dive deep into all of this, guys, please hit the like button for YouTube algorithm and drop me a line in the comment section if you think my videos are valuable for you. So, let's start with this tweet that was published by Scott just several hours ago, and he wrote this. We did our share count for a variety of reasons, and it truly has been eye-opening, and whether or not it's all statistically defensible, I'm not sure at this point till I feed all this into the AI machine. But it's staggering. We had a few whales skew the numbers and put us over 22 million shares total, so we subtracted them. With 247 MMTLP and NBA shareholders authenticated by account statement, name and account, we had 247 shareholders owning 4,249,462 shares at an average of 7,204 each. I get to sign an affidavit on this for the final submittal in my objection to Schwab's motion to dismiss, and it can be helpful in my motion to amend. But there you have it, and the high and low range per every 28 count data sets processed was 338,566 at the smallest and 1,231,583 at the largest across the randomized emails. You can have a field day with that. Bottom line, 247 shareholders yields 4,249,510 total shares excluding whales. 65,000 shareholders divided by groups of 247 shareholders equals 263 groups. 263 groups multiplied by 4 and 2 million equals 1,117,608,506 shares outstanding. I think this is why Esther Pierce says we don't know what we are going to do with MMTLP. Okay, now take out McCaudit and the whales and you are still where? Around 800 million shares, 900 million shares. This is a horror show. Well, at least Judge Rice will see this math on November the 7th of this year. And I have to say that it is quite interesting type of calculations, and let me show you first of all that some of community members doesn't agree with these calculations, and I have to say that I also have some doubts about the value of these calculations. But guys, we have another type of calculations that was made back in April of 2023 by Roth. And if you remember, the saga from that period, from the April of 2024, we gave the information of MMTLP shares to Ross, and he has the following numbers. Below an official share count from Twitter, 41 million shares from 10.3% of shareholders. If you do the math, that's an average of 6,568 shares per person. I calculated total of 426,920,000 shares, almost 3x the 165 million. Does not include anyone with over 300,000 shares. And this is quite different numbers, but we also have this number at least 3 times higher than original number of shares of 165 million. And guys, definitely we have a share imbalance. Even FINRA admitted it, and we have at least 2.65 million shares shorted on NextBridge hydrocarbons that cannot be there, that cannot exist because of the nature of the private company. And guys, definitely this information, as you can see right here, will be added to his RICO case, but let me show you the one of the most important parts of today's video. Scott wrote this tweet: McCodit round 2, let's see how he responds and who will be suffering from throat derangement syndrome TDS today. And 1. Immediately convenes multiple super duper hyper triggered emergency apocalypse space calls where the same TRCH try and defend their roles in taking the MMTLP investors to slaughter in NBH and argue that Vermont man bad. 2. Make sure the same space cadets will talk about McCodit going to at the last minute save the day. 3. Surely argue that McCodit doesn't have to answer my questions because he doesn't trust me, which is pretty bizarre since McCodit's only work in NBH the last 2 years was to send one email to her royal stillness and say I was compromised for having the audacity to ask him where'd the effing company go, bro. And yes, folks, this will play a role in my US District Court case because I will, in all likelihood, get leave to add defendants, I hope. You will get 3 guesses as to who they might be, and the first 2 don't count. So, again, quite interesting statement, and he will add this set of questions to his RICO lawsuit as well. And guys, these questions are really amazing. It is a 3 pages document and there are 31 questions. I have to say that all of them are very concise and very straightforward. And guys, if you have enough time, please give me this time. I will read the entire document for you and you will understand how important these questions are. So, Mr. McCabe, the following questions are propounded to you in your capacity as CEO of NextBridge Hydrocarbons and my capacity as a shareholder. These supplement prior questions I have asked on or about October the 10th. 1. How many companies do you own and now operate outside of NextBridge Hydrocarbons? For these companies, identify them by name and by state of incorporation. If any of these companies have received any money from NBH through contracts, loans, or any other financial agreements, please identify. Estimate how many hours per week you work at each for these entities and your approximate hours worked at NBH. 2. Do you have either within NBH or any of your other companies referenced above any brokerage accounts under which you trade stocks, bonds, or make any other investments? 3. Why did TRCH register a website for NBH in 2020? Investors were told there would be a dividend in NBH, but no attempts were made to sell the assets. It appears that the plan was always supposed to be as a spin-off. Can you explain? 4. We paid the executive team almost $2.5 million for the first year of NBH in 2023. What work did this executive team perform during the first year? Please respond to this question with a labor audit or reasonable accounting of their time and work along with a listing of duties performed. And guys, I have to say that even 4 first questions are very important in our case. Let me show you the next set of questions. 5. Did the Orogrande produce any assets for company? Please identify with particularity. 6. Why did the majority of execs quit at the merger or shortly thereafter? 7. When is the next investor presentation? If not, what is your 5-year plan? 8. What efforts have been made by NextBridge to obtain a resolution of the share imbalance? 9. What is the strategy to bring in revenues? 10. Please forward copies of any and all ownership agreements, lease agreements, operating agreements, and any and all correspondence you have in your custody, possession, and control regarding the Orogrande operations of NBH. And guys, as you can see, these questions are very important and they are very thoroughly made, and definitely Greg doesn't have to answer to these questions, but Scott will add these questions to his lawsuit, and potentially we will see Greg will be forced to answer to these questions in order to show his transparency. And definitely, I have to admit that it is a pure bombshell, and these questions definitely will give us the information that we don't have for quite a long period of time from the board of directors of NextBridge Hydrocarbons. On top of that, guys, let me switch to another news, because it is a very long story to read all of these questions. Let me show you this tweet. Mark Basile dropped a bombshell. He wrote, "You decide," and he mentioned several community members. MMTLP. Everyone knows that FINRA instituted a youth recall on trading MMTLP in December the 9th of 2022, but no one has explained in any real detail why. Concerns or issues on settlement, pump and dump, were they looking out for retail? Most MMTLP holders believe that FINRA was protecting its brokers, but there is still no direct proof of that. However, an interesting name popped up recently from one of the so-called community leaders' old posts, indicating a securities attorney I'm close with, named Mark Indeglia, was informed by this so-called leader of the MMTLP short play in early November of 2022. I know Mark Indeglia, who happens to be a decent securities attorney. However, Mark, while he represented issuers, has in the last several years moved to also representing and advocating for hedge funds. So, this community leader, who is close with Mark Indeglia, notified whatever of his potential huge short squeeze a little more than a month before the U3 halt. Now, normally a conversation is just that, a conversation, but this host claims that Mark told him he would have to go back and check with his associates, then get back to him. It's all in his tweet. Here's what you don't know. Mark is also president of the Small Public Company Coalition, a trade association that was created by hedge funds for hedge funds. It basically looks like an NFP designed to solely lobby government for changes to rules that benefit hedge funds, not issuers or retail shareholders. In fact, the SPCC lobbied the SEC very hard to try to stop the proposed changes to the Rule 144 holding period on dilution funding practices, because the proposed rule change targeted those hedge funds that destroy retail shareholder value through the death spiral toxic funding, something my firm has always fought against. Here's where it gets interesting. The Mark is president of the SPCC. The SPCC is presented by a well-known and excellent White Shoe DC law firm that has access to the SEC and which represents toxic dilution funding hedge funds. We don't know if any of brokers or others are actually clients of that firm, but what we do know is that the firm does request meetings with the SEC in order to discuss proposed rule changes. Here's a real rabbit hole to explore. It's quite possible that this leader was either directly or indirectly responsible for the U3 halt by tipping off a securities lawyer with one of the largest lobbying firms that work for his organization, a firm that is currently in litigation with SEC enforcement for its hedge fund clients on other issues of law. Then ask yourself, why his minions started to claim that I worked for hedge funds early on? Why they fought tooth and nail to have you avoid court at all costs, while bashing me and my clients, personally and their efforts? Why he kept injecting himself into everyone's attempt to get answers and forcefully redirect sentiment and the narrative, especially away from lawsuits. Remember the John Doe's in the TradeStation case. It may go way beyond the brokers. Again, I know Mark and he is a good securities attorney. I don't have issues with Mark. I do have issues about your community being manipulated and through that manipulation my clients being harassed. Considering the community likes to so-called explore things, you should consider exploring this. If you don't, that's absolutely your right to do so. These are just some facts backed up with evidence that's available publicly. Coincidental, innocent, and nothing burger? You decide. It's also quite coincidental that MMAT took considerable dilution funding before the U3 halt, that the stocks seem to have been pumped, as well as taking more dilution funding afterwards. Also, while you explore this, keep in mind that FINRA could not effectively or with any detail explain why they instituted the U3 halt. Did someone tip them off? As time goes by, there seems to be more questions than answers. Here's your starting point. And guys, he added the screenshot of Mr. McDagin's tweet, and Mr. McDagin's is the guess who? Due diligence, and he wrote this: Juki 96, that's a great idea, and okay, MTLP family, that's exactly what I did. I just called a securities attorney that I'm close with, and even he said he's never seen anything like this before. He said he thinks the TRCH shorts would have no choice but to cover, but he's asking to a couple of associates to look into it. I think they have to cover too. He was perplexed at this, and he said this is very stimulating. He said he will let me know by Monday. I give you all my solemn vow that this is the truth. I will follow up Monday with whatever he tells me. He did say that the attorneys handling the S1 are some big fish, and that one of them represented Musk in his Twitter purchase. Again, I am not gonna say what my position is, but I do wish luck to everybody. I will follow up. And guys, this is a real bombshell. And to be honest, I haven't expected this type of news, but at the same time, guys, we have another bombshell from another site. And RareDD wrote this: you decide. Mark Basile has concluded that Karma Collects is the reason FINRA U3 halted MMTLP, because he was in contact with a securities lawyer that as head of the SPCC apparently advocates for hedge funds and toxic lending. While Mr. Basile's concerns with the SPCC might be valid, the fact that he leaves out that the SPCC filed SEC complaint against him in 2021 in regards to alleged manipulation related to soliciting and manipulation of the commenting process is a little concerning. According to the complaint, here is the direct speech. The Basile firm consists of a group of plaintiffs and lawyers who file opportunistic lawsuits to void or otherwise rescind fully completed financing arrangements in the hopes of obtaining windfall profits. See SPCC comments 33-35 from March 22, 2021. The Basile firm evidently views this rulemaking as an opportunity to lend credibility to theories that the firm is pressing in pending litigation, claiming that convertible lending is harmful or somehow unlawful. To that apparent end, on November 29, 2021, the Basile firm Twitter account OTC lawyers published a series of tweets encouraging shareholders in OTC markets issuers to submit comments in support of the taking prohibition to let them know your losses. By the way, this is not me coming to the defense of Drew. I'm a fan of the full truth, and I just so happened to have came across this complaint the other day. It's pretty ironic that now Mr. Basil brings them up as though his firm doesn't have beef in both Drew and the SPCC. And he added this set of screenshots that proves this tweet. And guys, definitely it is a huge update, and as you can see, I don't even have enough time to show you that we are about to see a new lawsuit. And let me give you just a sneak peek of this news. Next Bridge Hydrocarbons long-term investor alert, investigation of potential wrongdoing. It was filed on October the 30th, and when this type of investigations is announced, we have to anticipate the class action lawsuits, because if a lot of investors will contact this firm, definitely it will be more than enough to file a class action lawsuit that will not benefit shareholders, because all of these lawsuits will benefit the company, the law firm itself. That is why, guys, it is not the best news. So as I already mentioned, I don't have enough time to show you the answer of John Burda to Scott in response to his set of questions to Greg McCabe. I will probably do it tomorrow, but for now, guys, please hit the like button and drop me a line in the comment section if you like my today's video. And guys, let me tell you my personal story. I have a wife and 2 children aged 11 and 15, as well as a small dog. After 30 years of living in Russia near the Baikal Lake, we decided to move. Now we reside in Serbia. Although I don't own any MMTLP shares, I invest a lot of time creating daily MMTLP videos. I have been doing this every day without days off and holidays for more than 1.5 years. Now I wish to buy back this time from my family, from my children. We've agreed that I will ask the MMTLP community to support me, and I will give all the money to the children. Therefore, if you believe that I am providing useful content for you and wish to support me, you can join my Patreon account. For $5 a month, I will add your name to my list of supporters if you wish. Thank you in advance. The link you can find in the description below. So, I think that's all information that I want to provide you. If you like my video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and see you guys and girls next time. Bye!
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gone live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life, I'm crazy, I'm